Alright, hello guys, how's it going? In today's video, we need to talk about some lingering ongoing storminess as well as the upcoming pattern ahead. Now, it is going to be quieter for a little while, but we do see some activity in the near future. Anyways, before I get into this video, be sure to smash that like button, leave a comment down below, and subscribe for more weather-related content. For today's comment of the day, I want to know, do you think that March is going to be a wintry month? Will there be some snowstorms? Or do you think it's going to be much more of a spring-like March? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and I'll be picking one of those for tomorrow's video. Let's get straight into this video, and first things first, we're taking a look at our radar, of course, and we can see a couple things going on that are pretty interesting here. First off, there's some storminess just offshore of Washington and Oregon. I'm assuming by tomorrow morning that will be onshore, so expect some storminess to move in very, very shortly. I'm going to change this back to yellow here. I feel like I cannot see that black well enough. So this is the area I was circling there. Now, we do see there is some lingering storminess here in the southeastern United States, as well as some snowfall showers up there for the Great Lakes, Ohio Valley, and the northeastern United States. Now, there isn't a ton going on compared to the last few days, so let's just zoom into these individual regions real quickly. So as you can see, this storminess here is going to be moving obviously onshore of Washington and onshore of northern Oregon at least, although the storm, we can't see it, could be extending further down. But yeah, it is actually, because we can see some precipitation down here as well pop up at the later portion of this radar run. You see the line where it cuts off, but yeah, there we go. So this is a pretty big storm that will be in the area soon enough. Now, as we move down here, we can see there is a flow like this with the storms where they're kind of moving up and then around, but we see some of these moving onshore to Texas, so we see some of this going on for southern Texas, and even near Dallas and northern Louisiana, southern Arkansas region, we're seeing some storminess, even some snowfall there in southern Arkansas, even in northern Louisiana. Very, very chilly conditions down there apparently, because that is fairly unusual. Little Rock seeing some snowfall, areas south of there. Very, very interesting. And I would say this area right here is definitely seeing some accumulation, because that is some pretty persistent heavier snowfall, so that is super, super interesting. Let's go ahead and take a look here at this region. We do have some storminess that is built in this region over the past couple of hours. A very sharp line of precipitation there, bringing some moderate to heavy rainfall and snowfall along that line. I guess I just kind of underlined it there. Yeah, I did. That was almost perfect. So we see that there is some storminess there going on throughout that region. Now let's move up to the northeast, because we do have some snow showers, mostly lake effect snowfall here for northern lower peninsula of Michigan. Kind of the southern regions of Michigan are seeing some of those showers move across. We see regions near Cleveland, Ohio there seeing some snowfall. Areas here in New York, areas there in New York, so multiple regions in New York as well. And the upper peninsula is not seeing any. Usually they do, so that's interesting. So lake effect snowfall is taking place kind of in all of these regions here throughout the morning hours. So that's going to be quite interesting. And as we all know, that could accumulate pretty easily. So we're going to watch for that as well. Now, that's all that's going on right now across the nation. What we're going to do is we're going to move on, and we're going to talk about what could be upcoming. Because, again, it is going to be quieter, so we're going to get a little bit of a breather here for a couple of days. But activity is in the near future. All right, now here we are taking a look at that modeled guidance, and we're starting out here with our European model. It's very evident that this is a quieter pattern, like I mentioned before. Now, over time, we do have kind of a jet stream that's just about like this. This is a very, what would you call it? Very subtle jet stream, okay? This is not going to be very extreme at all. We have very, very gentle curves here in this jet stream, and the southern jet comes up like this, as you can see. So this is a very gentle pattern for a couple of days. Obviously, the thumbnail says extreme weather, but that's not here yet. I mean, I guess the only thing that is kind of getting there is that area there. We also have a southern slider / nor'easter building in here, none of which are extreme yet. It really takes a while. That's more of the long-term pattern that we're waiting for to take place. But the jet stream stays very flat, very, very subtle here, as you can see. Whereas, some months you're looking at stuff like this frequently, and that's just not the case here, obviously. We get storm after storm moving through just like this. Clippers throughout this, by the way. We counted them up yesterday, and it was like 8 of them over the next 10 days. But I don't know if it'll be that much. But there is just multiple minor snowstorms. They're going to move through into the northeast. Now, we do get a more major storm up here in the northwest. And this is by the time we're reaching about Thursday, March 3rd, the very, very early morning hours. And this brings some snowfall to the Rockies, as you can see. Jet stream is still just about like this, so it's still just very subtle, but this might be enough to pull it back down, and it does. So that is what we see bring us back into this pattern, which really what brought us into this pattern in the first place was a storm pulling down that trough in the west. The storm brings it south there, and that makes this warm air that was here. So the warm air was here, and it goes, yeah, you know what, we're going to come over here. So that's what we see take place, because the cold air is kind of just hanging up here in Canada. Remember, the jet stream is really flat, and it saw that storm coming in, and it just filled in. So we saw this revolving pattern. So let's just watch this play out. Flat jet stream, fairly flat jet stream. Storm comes through right there, and we see the cold air like, wait a minute, we're going to go in there. So we're seeing it take place by this point, and then the warm air is already making its move to the east. So you can see that take place. It's so interesting how this happened, guys. Now we do see a low pressure system after this developing, so it's kind of messy in the west, and it looks like it's going to take a track like this, which is what we've been dealing with already for about a month. So again, it's probably getting repetitive by this point because we've had so many storms like this, but we see a low pressure system somewhere in there, cold front lingering underneath, warm front right here, warm air moving up the east, cold air filling in behind it. This is frequently what we've been taking a look at, and we see another one develop right behind it. This one much more extreme. 996 millibar low pressure center there, cold front kind of in there, warm front here, snowfall here to the northwest of the low pressure system. Classic stuff here, guys. Tons of cold air pouring in behind it as well. As you can see, all those areas, and warmth still out ahead of it. So we're going to get right back into this pattern. I'm fairly confident in that. Let's take a look here. I just want to take a look at this. I want to take a look at our cape, because a lot of people have been questioning, why do you have severe weather in the southeast on the thumbnails? Well, for the next, 5 days or so, we won't. 5 to 7 days we won't, but I see in the long term here that we get this cape coming up with these storms. And when you see storms like this, where the low pressure system's here, cold fronts underneath, warm fronts out ahead, and we're seeing the warm air fill in, but frigid air filling in behind, you're always watching these in-between regions for severe weather. So once we get back into that pattern, it's not going to be surprising if we have multiple severe weather events, one event per storm. But I mean, this is some of the highest cape of the season. Actually, it might be with a 1,000 to 1,500 cape in Texas, Louisiana. But this is very long range, keep in mind. But it is important to note that this model is trending at a high cape event for the southeast with this stormy pattern that we get in. Now let's see if the GFS agrees. This one we're going to get much further than on the European model. What's interesting is we get this really, I don't even know what you'd call this jet stream pattern, but it gets like this. So there's still a trough in the east here, centered something like this, and a trough moving into the west, and then a big ridge right here. Very interesting pattern, but we do see this low pressure system pulling down the trough here, and we do see the warm air head east, just like on the European model. Then the storm moves much more vertically, though. We do have the cold front here. We do have a huge warm front here. Maybe not that far. That might be a little bit too extreme. We do have a cold front here and a warm front, something like this, and this is leading towards a lot of warm air, especially immediately out ahead of that. And then again, severe weather potential here. So let's see if there's cape. That's not cape. Here we go. Yes, so there's tons of cape here on the GFS model right there for multiple days. And there we get maybe 2,000 amounts. So we're getting up there on the GFS model, multiple days of high cape there around March 4th through 7th. So we're going to be watching that time frame here on the channel, March 4th through 7th. I'll have to remember that. Then as we take a look at the precipitation pattern, we see more storms come through in a very strong frontal boundary in here. Just hanging out. Lots of warm air heading to the eastern United States and cold air coming in behind it here, clearly. Let's keep moving this on. This eventually reaches the southeast where a trough is moving in, but we'll probably see another ridge. Yeah, so we get another storm here, cold front underneath, warm front here, snowfall to the north, warm air out ahead of it, and then cold air filling in kind of behind it. So we get this pattern just revolving again all the way through the midpoint of March. So we'll have to watch this. Both models are trending at this. Let's see if there's any more cape to speak of here later on in this model run. So we know we get it during this time period, but it goes away for a time, yeah, and then we start to get more towards the very end of the model run there. So this in the Gulf is looking like it's going to be heading north. So obviously this is very long range. Don't pay attention to it on like a micro level. Don't be like, okay, Monday at 2 a.m. on March 14th, there's going to be high CAPE. You can't look at it that way, but what we can say is near mid-March, this model is trending at higher amounts of CAPE potentially heading into the area. That is something that we can latch ourselves onto and think, okay, well, this model is indicating that the overall pattern is supportive of this. This doesn't mean that we think it's going to happen on Monday, March 14th specifically, but it is worth noting that the pattern is, it's capable of it. Now, at hours 160 like this one through hours 200 or so, 240, we can kind of get an idea, days 5 through 10. We can say, okay, we're going to be watching that time frame because that's not like the super long range. That's just the medium to long range, which is where you can start to indicate that this model is showing storms, more specifically like this, with the warm air out ahead, cold air behind. And then when we take a look at this, you can see that cold front develop. We see it literally take place. Just like this, you can kind of tell we have that cold front rolling through. So this is more of something that we can actually indicate is more date specific. All right, so for today's confidence tab, we remain at a 4 out of 6 for obvious reasons. I don't really think, now that I've been going from the first hour of every model run to the very end, my confidence has been very similar each time around. Now, as we get more specific with severe weather events and tropical storms later on in the year, obviously, and then eventually snowstorms again, that's where the confidence tab is going to be more used. But when we're looking at overall patterns like this, it's not going to be a high or low confidence thing. For today's comment of the day, I asked you guys, how do you think this overall, how do you think this upcoming spring is going to go? And James Marr said, I believe it will be quite mild with lots of severe weather outbreaks. And let's hope not, but I do think that it could be quite mild for sure. It could have a lot of severe weather outbreaks as well, but I just hope not. For today's patron highlight of the day, I want to thank you all for supporting the channel, but especially our platinum patrons, Bill Crates, James Wade, Dovin Eagle, Lil the Pant, Mandy Birchfield, Patrick Strickland, Dave Scott, and Donna Carnes as well. I would also like to thank our diamond patrons, Bill Roberts, Marcus Connolly, Noah Harley, Michael Kodalesa, Capite, Charles Stinnett, Bill Dallas, Gary's, and John Colisi also. I would also like to thank our channel members, Capite, Stephen Fan, and Jeremy Cox as well. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Be sure to smash that like button, leave a comment down below, and subscribe for more weather-related content. I'll see you guys in the next video.